Ladies and gentlemen, in this debate over whether or not multinational corporations should trade with Hamas, we must recognise that we are dealing with some actors. We're dealing with an actor, with certainly at least one group of actors, who are contemptuous of the norms of civilised society, who frequently refuse to obey government edicts, and who behave themselves in a fashion abominable to any civilised person. The other is Hamas, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm going to be doing in summarising this debate today is we're going to look at three areas. I'm going to talk first of all about the effect that our policy has upon development within the Gaza Strip. I'm going to talk secondly about the effect that this has upon Hamas. Look at that. And then I'm going to talk thirdly and finally, ladies and gentlemen, about the effect this has upon violence. So, let's get stuck right in. So we've had this idea that reducing the blockade won't make Gaza more developed than it is now. We say this is nonsense. Let's look at the reasons why opposition have given us. They've given us several ones. Reason one, Hamas will spend all the money on guns. All of it, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we've pointed out that's not consistent with the way in which Gaza treats its people at the moment. We recognise the fact that Gaza does have quite a well-established humanitarian infrastructure programme, being one of the quite big reasons why it was victorious in the Palestinian elections. We think it will carry on doing that because they desire popular legitimacy. Reason two, ladies and gentlemen, we were told that Hamas won't trade in religious things because they might have an ideological opposition to money. We don't think that's true. We think there are probably at least some things that Hamas is going to be willing to trade. Reason three, this idea that there's just nothing in Gaza. It's just sand. There are no resources. If you wanted to build stuff in later, you should just go to China. As we pointed out, proximity to a large and very rich market might plausibly be one thing. According to my guidebook, Gaza apparently is rich in natural assets, but we think actually, so we are inclined to think, ladies and gentlemen, there probably are lots of reasons why multinational corporations should trade in Gaza. So we think that all of these things, ladies and gentlemen, are all reasons why it is that in fact multinational corporations going in and trading in Gaza will make Gaza richer. We point moreover to a final, very convincing piece of evidence, which was that Gaza was richer before the blockade happened. We think that suggests that if you take the blockade away, Gaza will once again get richer. We think this is good, ladies and gentlemen. Not only for the reasons I will go on to sketch out later, that it will hopefully reduce violence and possibly make Israel more safe, but just because it's we think we have a moral duty to do so. We think it is not fair for people to starve and die in the Gaza Strip, no thank you, as a result of the systematic and crippling poverty imposed by the blockade. So we think that in and of itself, even if nothing else applied in this debate, would be a serious benefit and one that opposition have refused to face up to. Go.
So you've chosen to strengthen the extreme faction, the one that continuously helps its citizens while hurting them at the same time?
Sort of, yes, ladies and gentlemen. This brings me quite nicely onto my second point, right? So, we've had first of all this idea that Hamas will get stronger. Note first of all that, we don't think this has necessarily been given enough analysis. We've given you some reasons to suppose that actually, diversifying the number of actors and the number of players in the Gaza Strip by having more multinational corporations interacting directly with people might in fact weaken Hamas's grip over its population. We think reducing its powers of patronage in dispersing humanitarian aid is probably a very effective way, no thank you, of preventing the kind of corruption that bedevils Fatah. We think actually, no thank you. But moreover, we recognise that even if Hamas does get stronger, what Hugh brings you, and what Bastian doesn't ever respond to, is you change the nature of Hamas. Yes, at the moment there are lots of things we do not like about Hamas. But the point about this motion, ladies and gentlemen, is it actually encourages Hamas to change its behaviour. First proposition mentioned that it discourages their other activities like drug smuggling and gun running. What Hugh brings you is that this is only one aspect of a much broader process of change, whereby Hamas becomes much more involved, no thank you, making itself business ready. Much more involved, as he said very clearly, in having a stake in regulatory regimes. Much more involved, ladies and gentlemen, in things like transparency. Much more involved in looking to protect things like property rights. We think all of these things, ladies and gentlemen, make Hamas more likely to have a stake in peace. We think all of these things, ladies and gentlemen, make Hamas have more to lose by a peace deal. Under the status quo, the only way in which Hamas can get aid and get support for Gaza, the only way, as it sees it, it is able to do anything on behalf of the people of Gaza, is by continuing to fire rockets at Israel. We think what you do is you make that no longer Hamas's only way of getting international attention and international sympathy. We think you diversify the flow of trade into Gaza in such a way that the suffering of the people of Gaza is not a precondition for aid and trade flowing in there. So, ladies and gentlemen, so we think that all of these things are reasons to suppose that Hamas will change in such a way. We think, enfolding into the general kind of capitalist system is probably a good thing. We think, actually, in as much as there is an ideology of global capitalism, we think it strictly dominates an ideology of Islamic extremism, ladies and gentlemen. We think, this idea that global capitalism is necessarily imperialist and evil, would be an argument against any capitalism anywhere ever. We think, in fact, the values of global capitalism, like valuing your workers and valuing trade and aid and money going to your people, is probably a good value to give Hamas. So, let's talk thirdly and finally about violence, because this has been another big plank of opposition's objections, that by making Hamas stronger, we were necessarily going to increase violence. Again, so we've given you lots of reasons to suppose that that isn't true in terms of what Hamas does. We note also that, no thank you, you cut off the groundswell of support for Hamas. You cut off all the angry, humiliating young men who have no prospects and nowhere to go because they are walled into Gaza both physically and economically. We think that, ladies and gentlemen, massively undercuts Hamas's ability to find suicide bombers. No thank you. We think, moreover, when Batson says, well, we're going to, the problem with this proposition is that we're not going to make them negotiate before they do anything, before they can come to the table. How's that working for you guys? How is it? No, thank you. We don't think that the Israeli policy for the last 60 years of making, forcing Hamas or other Palestinian groups to, no, thank you, to concede things before they will even be allowed to come to the negotiating table has been a roaring success. So, other ways in which we were told this might increase violence. We think we were told that it's going to encourage lots of other rebel groups because they know that they're going to be able to treat trade as well as Hamas. We point out that that is status quo. At the moment, if you decided to form a break-off faction of Hamas, you wouldn't be allowed to trade either. The fact that they're not doing it now suggests that when there continues to be a parity of trade available, they will not do it then. And so we think that all of these things are reasons why we're going to be able to reduce the levels of violence. We point out finally this, again as you told you, and again as was not responded to by the opposition, we think it's important that we reduce Hamas's incentive to go for all-out war. We think it's the obviously we recognise that Hamas may still have some reason why it wants to drive Israel into the sea, but ladies and gentlemen, we think reducing its incentive, we think putting it again in a situation where it does not need to wipe out Israel in order to help the Gazan people is probably a good thing. We think that probably makes Hamas more likely to compromise, more likely to go for peace settlements, more likely to sue for peace, and thus I propose. Thank you very much.